If the wind changes, your face will stay that way. If you want a good boy, Santa will know and won't bring you any presents. Don't play with eggshells, you'll get warts. If you keep doing that, you'll go blind and hair will grow on the palms of your hands. School days are the best days of your life. I could go on, but I think most of you are bright enough to realise that not everything you're told is true. And that last one in particular is probably one of the cruelest lies you could tell anyone. Being a young person is not easy. Until you reach your majority, you're at the mercy of whoever your parents or guardians happen to be. Luckily, most of us have parents and guardians who love us and want what's best for us, but that doesn't necessarily make it any easier. As a minor, your worries and concerns are often dismissed. You're dismissed as a kid. Your worries are not that important to adults, mainly because they have their own worries about their lives, and someone else's worries are always easier to cope with than your own. When you're trying to find your way in the world, it can sometimes be overwhelming. Figuring out who you can believe, what you can believe, and what is either lies or just plain wrong is not an easy task. So when you're having a tough time and someone tells you it gets better, sometimes in that particular now, with all the other stuff that's going on, it's hard to see how that can be true. And it's reasonable to ask, why should I believe that any more than the other stuff I've been told that isn't true? Well, here's how. Take a look at the evidence. When I was a kid and a teenager growing up in an unremarkable British town in the late 1970s and 1980s, the worst thing you could be called was gay. In society in general, homosexuality was seen as undesirable, wrong, and, for the most part, disgusting. There were no positive gay role models. People on TV who were identified as gay were either camp clowns who were figures of ridicule, or unstable and villainous and likely to be child molesters. In the 1980s came the spectre of AIDS, and being gay was portrayed as, at best, risky, at worst, the cause of a terrible plague. In the early 1980s, our government here in the UK passed legislation that forbade the promotion of homosexuality in schools. Section 28 meant that a suicidal young gay person, or a young gay person being subjected to homophobic abuse, couldn't discuss this with their teacher because, by helping them, their teacher would be breaking the law. Move forward 30 years, and we have an abundance of gay role models in the media. People who show the huge diversity of gay people. Camp men who are able to be who they are without being ridiculed. Gay women who don't conform to the unwashed, hairy, man-hating stereotype so beloved of the conservative right. Gay sports personalities. Gay people serving openly in the police and armed forces. Laws in place that protect gay people from being fired from their job or denied access to goods and services simply because of someone else's bigotry. We even have official recognition of same-sex relationships and a promise of marriage equality from a conservative government. If you want evidence that it gets better, I say that's pretty compelling stuff. So on the big scale, it's obvious that things are getting better. What about on the personal scale? What about when you're having a rough time as a young gay person? All the great stuff out there in the world doesn't seem to help much when you're stuck in a homophobic situation. I'm not going to tell you that being in that position doesn't suck. It does. But again, look at the evidence. In your life so far, when you've had bad times, they've invariably been followed by good ones. There's no reason to believe that a bad day won't be followed later by a good one. Things that seem very troubling today will be something that you can look back on later, either as something you don't need to worry about anymore, or something that you can learn from, you can chalk up to experience and wear your battle scars with pride. In October of 1962, the USSR began to build missile bases in Cuba. The world was on the brink of nuclear war, probably the closest it's ever come. People across the whole world were genuinely concerned that this week might be their last. Today, there are children in schoolrooms bored out of their minds hearing about this stuff in history class. With time, perspectives change. They changed for me, they changed for the thousands of people who've made It Gets Better videos. They'll change for you. If you're having a tough time, it's important to remember that you're not alone. I know that for most gay teenagers, that's a hard one to grasp. Even in the most gay-friendly families, most of us still feel that we grow up behind enemy lines. In a nuclear family of 4 to 5 people, it's unlikely that anyone else would be gay in that household. Even if you extend out to aunts, uncles and cousins, you could still be the only one, but you're not alone. There was one guy on a video who said, "We love you." That sounds trite, but there's a strong element of truth in it. Your experiences are unique to you, but most of us have been through something similar ourselves, albeit unique to us. When you see one of those wildlife films of little turtle hatchlings struggling their way to the ocean and being picked off on the way, you find yourself rooting for them. Well, there's an army of us out here rooting for you, even if we don't know you personally. And when you reach the ocean, you'll realise that we were telling you the truth. It is amazing. How could being yourself be anything else when you are amazing? So, if it's tough, hang in there. It's worth it. And one day, you'll find it's your turn to be privileged enough to tell someone, it gets better.